The rain had fallen over planet Valora for 7 long days without stopping. Cold wind moved through the giant spaceport, carrying the sounds of engines, warning alarms, and thousands of travelers rushing toward their ships. Cargo workers loaded huge metal containers, while security drones floated above the busy terminals, scanning every corner of the station. In the middle of all that noise and movement, 2 small alien girls sat quietly on an old metal bench near landing platform 12, watching every ship that landed as if their whole future depended on it. The 2 girls were twin sisters from the peaceful Lurian race. Their silver hair gently moved with the cold wind, and their bright blue eyes still carried hope even after 7 difficult days. Their clothes were wet from the rain, and their faces showed signs of hunger and exhaustion, yet neither of them complained or asked anyone for help. Every few minutes they looked toward the landing gate with hopeful smiles, believing that the next ship might finally bring back the person they had been waiting for. People from many different worlds had noticed the strange twins during the past week. Some travelers stopped only to stare before continuing their journey, while others whispered to each other about the 2 children who refused to leave. A few kind aliens brought them warm blankets, food, and clean water, but most people believed the girls were wasting their time. Everyone who heard their story reached the same conclusion, because no one in the galaxy believed a human could survive the place where he had gone. That place was known as the Black Rift, a deadly region of space where hundreds of ships had disappeared over many years. Giant storms of dark energy destroyed engines, communication systems, and even powerful military fleets within minutes. Every captain knew its name, and every space academy taught young pilots to stay far away from it. Once a ship entered the Black Rift, there was almost no chance of returning alive, which was why the entire station believed the human had already become another lost soul among its endless darkness. An elderly cargo pilot slowly walked toward the sisters while carrying a small food box in his hands. His face showed years of experience, and the deep lines around his eyes told stories of many dangerous journeys across the galaxy. He placed the food beside the twins and looked at them with gentle sympathy before speaking in a calm voice. He told them they were too young to spend their lives waiting for someone who would never return, because sometimes even the strongest promises could not defeat the dangers of space. The older sister smiled politely before thanking the old pilot for his kindness. She carefully divided the food into 2 equal portions and handed the larger piece to her younger sister before answering his words. She quietly explained that the human had looked directly into their eyes before leaving, and she had seen complete honesty in his face. She believed that a person who spoke with such confidence would never break his promise, no matter how dangerous the journey became. The old pilot remained silent for several seconds after hearing her answer. He wanted to explain that the Black Rift showed no mercy to anyone, but he could not bring himself to destroy the hope shining in the sisters' eyes. Instead, he slowly nodded his head, wished them good luck, and continued toward his cargo ship. Even after leaving, he found himself looking back one last time, wondering if faith could sometimes be stronger than logic. As another day passed, the story of the twin sisters spread across the entire station. News reporters arrived with floating cameras and began recording the girls from every angle while curious crowds gathered around them. The local space network quickly shared their story with nearby planets, and soon millions of viewers were watching live broadcasts of the 2 children who continued waiting without losing hope. Some people called them brave, while others laughed and claimed they were simply too young to understand the truth. One young station guard watched the sisters every day during his shift. At first he believed they would eventually give up and return home, but after seeing them wait through freezing nights and heavy rain without complaining, his opinion slowly changed. Before ending his duty that evening, he bought 2 warm drinks from a nearby machine and carefully carried them to the old bench. He handed the cups to the sisters with a friendly smile and asked the question that almost everyone on the station wanted answered. The guard gently asked how they could still believe the human was alive after waiting for 7 days without receiving a single message. The younger sister held the warm cup with both hands and quietly looked toward the stars above the station before answering him with complete confidence. She explained that believing was not difficult when someone had always spoken with honesty, and she reminded the guard that promises only had value if someone was willing to keep them, even when everything seemed impossible. The guard stood there quietly for several moments, unable to find the right words. He had met thousands of travelers during his years of service, but he had never seen such unshakable trust in anyone's eyes. As he walked away, he secretly hoped the impossible would happen, because he no longer wanted to see those innocent sisters lose the hope that had kept them alive for an entire week. Somewhere deep inside his heart, he began wishing that the mysterious human would somehow return. Far beyond the bright lights of planet Valora, the endless darkness of the Black Rift surrounded a badly damaged human ship that drifted silently through broken pieces of rock and strange energy storms. Warning alarms echoed inside the cracked cockpit, while sparks flew from damaged control panels and the last remaining engine struggled to stay alive. The injured human pilot slowly reached toward the emergency transmitter with trembling hands, using the little strength he had left before activating one final signal that carried a single message through the darkness, proving that he was still alive and still fighting to return to the two little sisters who had never stopped believing in him. The weak emergency signal disappeared into the endless darkness of the Black Rift, but no one on planet Valora received it. The violent energy storms swallowed almost every transmission that entered the dangerous region, leaving the human pilot completely alone. His ship floated between broken asteroids and waves of black lightning that flashed across space like giant snakes. The control panels were badly damaged, oxygen levels continued to fall, and every warning alarm reminded him that time was quickly running out. Even with all those dangers surrounding him, his mind stayed focused on only one thing: the promise he had made before leaving the station. 7 days earlier, planet Valora had looked completely different. Bright sunlight covered the spaceport, music echoed through the busy streets, and thousands of travelers filled the markets with laughter and conversation. Cargo ships arrived every minute while tourists explored the beautiful alien city for the first time. It was one of the safest trading stations in that part of the galaxy, where people from hundreds of different races lived and worked together peacefully. Nobody expected that before sunset, one small event would change the lives of two young alien sisters forever. The twin sisters had arrived with their parents to sell rare healing crystals collected from their home planet. Their family was not rich, but they were honest people who worked hard every day to earn enough money for a simple life. The girls enjoyed watching the colorful ships land while their parents spoke with merchants inside the central market. Everything seemed peaceful until a loud explosion suddenly shook the entire station. Smoke filled the streets, frightened civilians began running in every direction, and panic spread across the marketplace within seconds. A dangerous pirate group had secretly entered the station during the confusion created by the explosion. Their leader wanted the valuable healing crystals, and he did not care how many innocent people were hurt while stealing them. Armed pirates quickly surrounded several merchant families, taking their goods by force and threatening anyone who tried to resist. During the chaos, the twin sisters became separated from their parents and found themselves trapped in a narrow street with nowhere to escape. Fear filled their eyes as heavy footsteps came closer every second. The pirate leader noticed the frightened girls hiding behind a broken transport vehicle and smiled with cruel satisfaction. He believed the children would make useful hostages if the merchants refused to surrender their valuable cargo. The twins held each other's hands tightly while searching for help, but every nearby civilian was too afraid to interfere. Even the local security officers were busy fighting pirates in another part of the station. For a few terrifying moments, it seemed there was no one left who could save them. At that exact moment, an old human cargo ship landed only a short distance away. The ship looked ordinary, with faded paint, small engines, and several repair marks covering its outer hull. Most people would never have looked at it twice. The loading ramp slowly opened and a tall human wearing a simple gray flight jacket stepped onto the platform. He had no expensive armor, no advanced weapons, and no group of soldiers behind him. He was only one man carrying a small supply bag after completing another routine delivery across the galaxy. The human immediately noticed the frightened sisters and the armed pirates surrounding them. Without asking questions or waiting for help, he calmly placed his bag on the ground and walked forward. His confident movement surprised everyone nearby because no ordinary cargo pilot would willingly challenge dangerous space pirates alone. The pirate leader laughed loudly after seeing the unarmed human approach and warned him to turn around if he wanted to stay alive. Instead of showing fear, the human simply smiled and continued walking until he stood directly between the pirates and the two little girls. The pirate leader ordered his men to attack, believing the fight would end within seconds. However, the human moved with surprising speed and skill, avoiding every attack while using the pirates' own mistakes against them. He knocked weapons from their hands, protected innocent civilians, and created enough confusion for the station guards to arrive. Within minutes, the pirate group realized they had lost control of the situation. Those who were still standing escaped through emergency tunnels, leaving behind everything they had tried to steal. The twin sisters slowly stepped out from their hiding place, still shaking from fear. The human knelt in front of them and gently asked if they were hurt. After making sure they were safe, he found their frightened parents and reunited the family. Tears of relief filled the parents' eyes as they thanked the stranger who had risked his own life to protect two children he had never met before. The human simply smiled, accepted a bottle of water, and refused every reward they offered him. Before leaving, the human looked at the sisters and explained that he had one final mission waiting beyond planet Valora. He had been hired to deliver an important research device to a remote scientific station, but the fastest route passed directly through the deadly Black Rift. The parents became silent after hearing those words because everyone knew the terrible reputation of that region. Even experienced military captains avoided it whenever possible. Yet the human spoke about the journey with complete confidence. The younger sister suddenly grabbed the edge of the human's jacket and quietly asked if he would ever come back. The human gently smiled, placed one hand on her shoulder, and promised that after finishing his mission, he would return to planet Valora. He told both sisters to wait for him at landing platform 12 because he wanted to bring them a small gift from his travels. Looking directly into their hopeful eyes, he repeated that no matter how difficult the journey became, he would always keep his word. The twins believed every single word he spoke, never imagining that 7 days later the entire galaxy would laugh at their faith while they continued waiting for the one human who had never broken a promise. The 8th sunrise slowly appeared above planet Valora, covering the giant spaceport with soft golden light. Hundreds of ships entered the station one after another, while thousands of travelers hurried toward their destinations without paying much attention to the world around them. Business had returned to normal, but one small corner of the station remained exactly the same. Near landing platform 12, the twin alien sisters still sat on the old metal bench, quietly watching every ship that landed with the same hope they had carried since the human left 7 days earlier. The sisters looked much weaker than before, yet their eyes still searched every arriving ship with complete confidence. Their silver hair moved gently in the morning wind, and the thin blanket covering their shoulders could no longer protect them from the cold weather. Many people wondered how two young girls could continue waiting for so long without giving up. They had no expensive shelter, no comfortable bed, and no family beside them, yet they refused to leave the place where the human had asked them to wait. Their parents had returned several times during the week, begging the girls to come home and rest. They explained that the human had probably tried his best, but had become another victim of the Black Rift. They reminded the twins that no one had ever escaped from that terrible place. The older sister listened carefully to every word, but she gently shook her head before answering. She quietly explained that the human had never lied to them, and because of that, she would continue believing until she saw the truth with her own eyes. The younger sister smiled every time someone questioned their decision. She always remembered the calm expression on the human's face before he entered his ship. His voice had carried no fear, no doubt, and no hesitation when he promised to return. That memory became stronger than the cold nights, stronger than hunger, and even stronger than the laughter of strangers. Every morning she woke up believing that today would finally be the day when the familiar cargo ship appeared above the station once again. As the story spread across nearby star systems, more visitors arrived simply to see the famous twin sisters. Some people brought flowers, while others left small gifts beside the old bench. A few children from different alien races even sat with the sisters for several hours before returning home. The twins thanked everyone for their kindness, but their attention never stayed away from the landing platform for long. Every loud engine sound made them quickly stand up, only to sit down again when another unfamiliar ship appeared. Not everyone treated them with kindness. A group of young traders stopped near the bench one afternoon and laughed openly at the sisters. One of them sarcastically asked whether they planned to wait for another 7 years instead of 7 days. Another claimed that humans only cared about themselves and would never risk their lives to keep a promise made to strangers. The crowd around them became silent, waiting to see how the sisters would react to those cruel words. The older twin looked at the traitors without showing any anger. She calmly explained that people who always broke their own promises found it difficult to believe that someone else could actually keep theirs. Her gentle answer surprised everyone nearby because it carried no hatred or bitterness. The traitors suddenly felt embarrassed and quietly walked away without saying another word. Several people watching the scene smiled with respect, realizing that the little girls possessed wisdom far beyond their age. Later that evening, the same young station guard returned with fresh food and warm blankets. During the past week, he had slowly become friends with the sisters, often spending a few minutes talking with them before ending his shift. He admitted that at first he believed they were chasing an impossible dream, but after watching them every day, he had started hoping they were right. Deep inside his heart, he wanted the human to survive because the sisters deserved a happy ending after everything they had endured. The guard carefully looked toward the stars before quietly asking what they would do if the human never returned. The younger sister remained silent for a few moments before answering with complete honesty. She admitted that waiting forever would be painful, but leaving before knowing the truth would hurt even more. The older sister nodded in agreement and explained that promises created hope, and hope gave people the strength to face even the darkest moments of life. Those simple words stayed in the guard's mind long after their conversation ended. Far away from planet Valora, the human pilot continued fighting for survival inside the Black Rift. His damaged cargo ship drifted through endless darkness, while strange energy storms surrounded him from every direction. The navigation system had completely failed. Food supplies were almost gone, and only one engine still responded to his commands. Every decision had become a battle between life and death, yet he refused to abandon the controls because two small girls were still waiting for him somewhere beyond the darkness. While searching for a safe path through the deadly storms, the human suddenly noticed something unusual appearing on his damaged radar screen. A weak signal flashed for only a few seconds before disappearing again behind a massive field of black energy. At first he believed it was another system failure, but the signal returned a second time, stronger than before. It was not coming from another ship or a rescue team. It was coming from somewhere deep inside the Black Rift, where no map had ever shown anything existing. The human carefully adjusted the damaged sensors and stared at the glowing signal with growing curiosity. Ancient symbols slowly appeared across the cracked display, symbols that no modern computer should have been able to recognize. Before he could understand what he was seeing, the entire cockpit suddenly shook with incredible force as a gigantic shadow silently moved outside the ship. The radar instantly went dark, the engines lost power, and the human realized that he was no longer alone inside the most dangerous place in the galaxy. The entire cargo ship shook violently as another wave of dark energy crashed against its damaged hull. Warning alarms echoed through the small cockpit, while loose wires sparked from broken control panels. The human pilot tightened his safety belt and struggled to keep the ship under control. But every system continued failing one after another. Outside the front window, endless darkness covered every direction, making it impossible to tell where space ended and the mysterious Black Rift truly began. The strange shadow moved silently around the ship without making a single sound. It was far larger than any battleship the human had ever seen, yet it appeared and disappeared like smoke inside the darkness. Every few seconds, the damaged radar detected something enormous before losing the signal again. The human carefully slowed the remaining engine, knowing that sudden movements could attract whatever was hiding outside. His heartbeat became faster, but his mind remained calm because panic had never solved any problem. A bright blue light suddenly appeared deep inside the black storm, shining like a lonely star hidden beneath endless clouds. The light did not move with the violent energy around it. Instead, it remained perfectly still, almost as if it were waiting for someone to find it. The human adjusted the ship's damaged scanners and slowly guided the cargo vessel toward the glowing object. Every warning system advised him to turn back immediately, but his instincts told him that this mysterious light was different from everything else inside the Black Rift. As the ship moved closer, the darkness slowly disappeared, revealing something that should not have existed. Floating peacefully in the middle of the deadly storm was an enormous ancient structure built from black crystal and shining silver metal. Its shape looked like a giant circle surrounding a glowing blue core that pulsed with gentle energy. Strange symbols covered every surface, and each symbol emitted a soft golden light that seemed untouched by time. The human stared through the cockpit window, realizing he had discovered something that no living explorer had ever reported. The computer suddenly became active without receiving any command from the pilot. Ancient symbols appeared across the cracked display, before slowly changing into words the human could understand. A calm mechanical voice echoed through the silent cockpit and welcomed the first living visitor to reach the forgotten station in more than 10,000 years. The message explained that the structure had been built by an advanced civilization long before the modern galaxy existed, and it had remained hidden inside the Black Rift to protect its greatest secret. The human stepped out of his damaged ship after wearing a protective spacesuit. A narrow bridge of glowing blue energy appeared beneath his feet, connecting the cargo ship to the ancient structure. Every step felt strange, because the bridge seemed completely solid even though it was made only of light. The surrounding darkness remained silent, and the giant shadow that had followed him completely disappeared, as if it had simply been guarding the entrance instead of hunting him. The human carefully continued forward, knowing that one wrong decision could become his last. Inside the ancient station, the walls glowed with soft blue light that illuminated a massive circular hall. Thousands of crystal pillars surrounded the center of the room, where a floating sphere rotated slowly above a stone platform. The air felt warm and peaceful, completely different from the deadly storms outside. It almost seemed as though time itself had stopped within the hidden structure. The human slowly approached the glowing sphere, unable to take his eyes away from the incredible technology standing before him. As soon as he reached the center of the hall, the floating sphere released a beam of light that surrounded him from head to toe. Instead of causing pain, the light scanned his body before projecting hundreds of glowing images into the air around him. He watched planets being created, civilizations rising and falling, and terrible wars destroying entire star systems. The ancient recording revealed that the builders of this station had created a powerful energy source capable of ending all wars by providing unlimited clean energy to every world in the galaxy. The final part of the message carried a serious warning. The ancient civilization explained that unlimited power could also become the greatest weapon if it reached greedy leaders. For that reason, the station had remained hidden until someone with courage, honesty, and compassion finally discovered it. The system had secretly observed the human's actions before allowing him to enter. It had witnessed him risking his own life to protect innocent children without asking for any reward. Because of those choices, the station had judged him worthy of protecting its greatest secret. The glowing sphere slowly transformed into a small crystal no larger than the human's hand. It gently floated toward him, before resting inside his open palm. At that exact moment, every light inside the ancient station suddenly changed from peaceful blue to bright red. Loud warning alarms echoed through every hallway, and the calm mechanical voice urgently announced that unknown ships had entered the Black Rift. Someone else had discovered the hidden structure, and they were rapidly approaching its location with powerful weapons. The human quickly ran back toward his damaged cargo ship, while explosions shook the ancient station behind him. Through the thick clouds of dark energy, several enormous warships slowly appeared, each carrying the black symbol of the Crimson Fang pirates. Their leader had somehow learned about the forgotten station and had followed the human through the dangerous storms. As the pirate fleet surrounded the ancient structure from every direction, the human realized that escaping with the crystal would be far more difficult than surviving the Black Rift itself. And somewhere far away on planet Valora, two little sisters still waited with complete faith that he would return exactly as he had promised. The Crimson Fang pirate fleet surrounded the ancient station from every direction, blocking every possible escape route. Their massive warships activated powerful energy cannons, and bright red lights covered the dark sky inside the Black Rift. The damaged human cargo ship looked tiny compared to the enormous pirate vessels waiting outside. Any normal pilot would have accepted defeat after seeing such overwhelming force, but the human knew that surrender was not an option, because the ancient crystal now rested safely inside his jacket. Inside the lead battleship, the pirate commander watched the human through a giant holographic screen. His face was covered with old battle scars, and one mechanical eye glowed with a cold red light. For many years he had searched for the forgotten station after hearing ancient stories about a hidden power that could control the future of the galaxy. Countless treasure hunters had failed before him, but luck had finally brought the human directly to the prize he had wanted for so many years. The commander smiled with confidence because he believed victory was already in his hands. The pirate commander opened a communication channel and calmly ordered the human to hand over the crystal without resistance. He promised that if the human obeyed, he would be allowed to leave the Black Rift alive. The human listened quietly without interrupting, but he already understood that the commander had no intention of keeping such a promise. Anyone willing to attack innocent people for power would never show mercy after getting what he wanted. Instead of answering with fear, the human simply switched off the communication screen and prepared his damaged ship for another impossible mission. The cargo ship had almost no fuel left. One engine had completely stopped working, and several important systems remained badly damaged. Even the navigation computer repeatedly warned that another high-speed flight would destroy the remaining engine forever. The human ignored every warning and carefully examined the ancient crystal resting in his hand. As he looked closely, the crystal suddenly began glowing with a soft blue light, almost as if it had sensed the danger surrounding him. Strange symbols slowly appeared across its surface, forming a moving map of the Black Rift that had never existed on any modern star chart. The glowing map revealed hidden energy paths flowing safely through the deadly storms. These invisible routes had been created thousands of years earlier by the builders of the ancient station and remained unknown to every civilization in the modern galaxy. The human immediately understood that the crystal was not only an energy source, but also a guide capable of leading worthy people through places where others could never survive. A small smile appeared on his face because, for the first time since entering the Black Rift, he finally saw a chance to escape. The pirate commander noticed the human starting his engines and laughed loudly before ordering his fleet to fire. Dozens of powerful energy blasts rushed toward the small cargo ship, lighting the darkness with bright explosions. At the very last second, the human followed the glowing path shown by the crystal and sharply turned his ship into a narrow space between two violent energy storms. The pirate cannons completely missed their target, while several blasts accidentally struck the unstable storms instead. Within seconds, massive waves of dark energy exploded outward, forcing part of the pirate fleet to scatter in every direction. The human skillfully guided his damaged ship through the hidden path while the giant pirate battleship struggled to follow him. Their advanced computers could not detect the invisible energy currents, causing several ships to collide with floating asteroids and dangerous storms. The pirate commander watched in disbelief as his carefully planned attack slowly turned into complete chaos. He had spent years searching for the Black Rift, yet a simple cargo pilot was now moving through it as if he had lived there his entire life. Back on planet Valora, another quiet evening arrived at landing platform 12. The twin sisters still sat together on the old metal bench, patiently watching every arriving ship. Their parents once again begged them to return home for the night, explaining that another day had passed without any sign of the human. The older sister gently smiled before answering that tomorrow would be different because she somehow felt that he was getting closer. The younger sister looked toward the stars and silently held the small metal coin the human had given her before leaving, believing it would bring him safely home. The young station guard continued visiting the sisters every evening after finishing his duties. During the past week, he had grown deeply attached to the two children and admired their endless faith. That night, he quietly admitted something he had never told anyone before. He confessed that he had stopped believing in promises many years ago after losing someone important, who never returned from a dangerous mission. Watching the sisters continue waiting every day had slowly changed his heart, and for the first time in years he wanted to believe that some promises truly could survive any distance. Deep inside the Black Rift, the human finally reached the last hidden passage shown by the ancient crystal. Beyond the glowing energy tunnel, He could already see the distant stars outside the dangerous region. Freedom was only a few minutes away, and the thought of returning to the waiting sisters filled him with new determination. He increased the remaining engine power and guided the ship toward the exit, believing the worst part of his journey had finally ended. Just as the cargo ship approached the final escape route, the entire black rift suddenly trembled with terrifying force. A massive shock wave spread through space, throwing the human against his control panel and shutting down the last working engine. Behind him, the pirate commander's enormous flagship slowly emerged from the darkness, completely undamaged because it had activated an ancient weapon powerful enough to resist the deadly storms. The commander smiled coldly as his battleship blocked the only exit from the black rift, leaving the human trapped once again only moments before he could finally return to the two sisters, who still believed he would never break his promise.